What's up, y'all? I hope this video finds you doing well. I am coming to you with another revisited celebrity natal chart reading, this time on none other than Miss Blac Chyna, aka Angela White. So for those of y'all who have just been hiding under a rock, Blac Chyna is a former stripper, former video vixen, if you will. She really ushered in and paved the way for a lot of like the current Ari Fletchers and Jada Waiters. She, alongside Amber Rose in the early 2010s and a couple of other girls, really put themselves out there and kind of rebranded the way that we consume IG models, or, you know, a lot of like the it girls, right? And the girlies who would be dating the rappers and the ball players and so on and so forth. And it's come with a lot of controversy. A lot of times when she would make headlines, especially within like the past, like the most recent years, it would be due to scandal and her acting out, or the drama that would play out between she and Rob Kardashian, her second baby daddy, or she and Tyga from Young Money, her first baby's daddy. And then she also brought us the specimen that we know as Tokyo Tony, honey.
You at my daughter's house eating, drinking, sleeping, and looking at a Baphomet every time you hit that thing from the back. Y'all demons are so funny.
Tokyo Tony is Blac Chyna's antagonistic mother. And when I say antagonist, I mean she is Blac Chyna's biggest op in the most craziest, inconceivable way one could imagine when you think of a mother-daughter dynamic. She rides around in her car all day long. Where she's headed, we don't know. Where she's coming from, we don't know. Will she and has she ever reached her destination? We don't know. But she will make videos. She will expose Blac Chyna, so-called, spill tea. She's written books. She's done interviews, dragging Blac Chyna, saying things that we couldn't even imagine. The general public could not imagine somebody dogging us and talking to us in the manner in which Tokyo Tony talks to or even about Blac Chyna. She'll call her every kind of bitch, hoe, slut off the street, say that she's a part of the Illuminati, tell people that they shouldn't fuck with her. I mean, just, it's so crazy. But she's entertaining, so it's kind of like a guilty pleasure to watch her. She's entertaining and very unintentionally hilarious. Because you can definitely tell there's something about this lady that is not right. I am no doctor. I am no psychologist. But I don't even really think it takes that much to see that this lady, whether it's the drugs, whether it's mental health, maybe it's a combination of both. I don't know. Something's off about that lady. And when everybody started realizing this, we started viewing Blac Chyna through a more sympathetic kind of lens, because we know Miss Mama's never stood a chance in hell with a mother like that, okay? So I said all this to say that recently Blac Chyna has been on this promo interview tour, basically showing up as her new and improved self. She has reclaimed her birth name, Angela White, and prefers to be called that, and has basically been talking about how she's cleaned up her life. She's been born again. She's even accepted and adopted new religion. She wants to be more conservative. She has no desire to be on OnlyFans anymore. So these are all the things that she's been letting the public know, the general public know, okay? And in light of this, of course, doing what we do here on this channel, I want to take a look at her natal chart and put a lot of her more recent actions and these interview circuits into more of an astrological context. And we can even touch on her relationship with Tokyo Tony here as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Blac Chyna was born on May 11, 1988. In Washington, D.C. Her birth time is unknown. So per usual, as it pertains to charts where there is no clearly defined time of birth, we will refrain from discussing the ascendant and house placements. However, we can safely deduce that Angela White is a Taurus Sun. She has her Sun at the 21st degree, conjoined to Jupiter. Now, right off bat, this absolutely has a really significant impact on her most recent change of heart, okay, in terms of her rebrand. And this is because Jupiter is the planet that is more often than not going to be associated with religion when we talk about astrology and the different archetypes within astrology. Jupiter deals with religion, and a lot of times people who are influenced by that Jupiterian energy, whether it be you're a Sag, Pisces, let's say you have Jupiter in contact with a personal planet such as the sun, moon, even Mercury. A lot of times these individuals, and Mars as well, these are individuals who live a lot of their lives searching for truth. They can spend a lot of their time wanting to understand like the higher reasoning for the things that happen in life. And these are people who could live very adventurous lives. And the word adventurous can be a good thing. Most people have a positive association to the word adventure. But the downside of adventure is like sometimes you can just get into some shit and sometimes shit gets into you. Sometimes trouble just find the fuck out of me. And that's very Jupiter. These are people who can live very wild, crazy lives, especially earlier in life. And I notice that as they get older, more often than not, there is this kind of desire to rein that in or to find, once again, answers. To search beyond the reason why they're doing certain things. These are people who want to make things make sense, and they tend to assign meaning or want to assign meaning. And the most common way of doing that is through religion or a person's belief system or ideology. So when it comes to searching for answers or being a very religious person, depending on what's going on, Jupiter contacts and Jupiter in aspects to personal planets, especially like the sun, can make a person, I've seen this create a very highly devoted religious person. So it was just really a matter of time before Blac Chyna did the like religious person rebrand. Not to mention the sun can deal with what you're known for. The sun conjoined to Jupiter in Taurus more so speaks to where her connection to religion could be derived from maybe some type of advice that she's received. Maybe she has like a new spiritual or religious advisor. Taurus is the sign of advice. It does deal with advice. And then she has her Venus at the 26th degree of Gemini conjoined to Chiron. So the gag is, although she may very well be advised from some sort of spiritual religious figure, hence that Sun Jupiter conjunction in Taurus, it may not be good advice that she's getting. Okay. Chiron, especially when it's in conjunction to Venus in Gemini at that, could deal with where a person may be the type of individual to get a lot of input from other people, where you're constantly getting feedback and input and even advice from other people, but it could be deficient in some type of way. Or corrupt in some type of way. There could be something wrong with it. Or where she could be the type of individual, because Gemini does deal with like books and stuff. So maybe she is the type of person who read up on a couple things, but with that Chiron conjunction to her Venus is like, maybe she's not really like, these are people who can be kind of off. Or maybe you can attract people who can like, it kind of gives brainwash energy. I'm not even going to lie. And this is also reinforced with the fact that she does have this same Venus and Chiron and Gemini squaring her Pisces North Node and her moon. And that can make her, number one, that could be very indicative of like somebody who may not quite be right in the head. And because the moon also deals with the mother, this could also be very symbolic of Miss Tokyo Toni having a mom, a dysfunctional relationship with the mom, especially Chiron squaring that Pisces moon, where the mom is always switching up, flipping out, a mom who may not have been present. A lot of Pisceans, especially Pisces moons, depending on the aspect to the moon, can deal with major abandonment issues or being neglected. And the fact that it's squaring that Chiron and Gemini could point to where Tokyo Toni might have been a city girl and spent a lot of time running the streets, and as a result, neglected the hell out of Blac Chyna. Because Chiron could also deal with our wounds, how we were traumatized. So that moon Chiron square could be real nasty in terms of a person who has severe issues with the mom. Severe. Or where Tokyo Toni slanders her. I mean, you could look at that Chiron and Gemini as Tokyo Tony not being able to keep her mouth shut. Gemini also rules media, like, interviews and doing interviews and calling radio stations, writing books even. And with it squaring her moon, it could deal with where Tokyo Tony just kind of slanders her or does a lot of that expose bullshit. But a lot of times, Tokyo Tony is very changeable. That ugly, nasty part of who she is that we tend to see, that is how she is with Blac Chyna, but Blac Chyna may feel like she has a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of complex where she never really knows what type of mom she's going to get that day. And this is something that she could have, because squares can indicate ongoing issues, right? These are not just random outside, events, isolated events. It's just that now that the internet is what it is, Blac Chyna is who she is. She has a certain platform. Her mom has a certain platform now by proxy. So it's just being done on a larger scale. But Tokyo Tony, based on this square, may very well have been somebody who did shit like this a lot, where one day she was loving and sweet, and because Blac Chyna really is deficient in that area of her life, a lot of Pisces moons, like I said, they need that soft space. They need that soft spot. Maybe she was very vulnerable. Like I said, that could deal with her being abandoned and neglected, or just really wanting that soft space for her mom, or where maybe she could even pity her mom. She could look at her mom and feel sorry for her. But as soon as that square to her Chiron and Gemini activates, her mama will switch that shit up. She might play into it oh, I need you, daughter. I love you, daughter. You're so special to me. And then wake up on one. And I get this too, maybe cussing her out, calling her phone, cussing her out, making fake numbers, spreading rumors about her to her friends, family, anybody who will listen. So just picture that on a larger scale, because there's a lot of people who deal, unfortunately, with moms or parents who kind of have that energy signature. And because of this square between this moon in Pisces and Chiron and Gemini, I would not be surprised if it was more so rooted within a mental health problem. There could legitimately be something wrong with Tokyo Tony. But this could also even indicate where mentally Blac Chyna could very well have some mental health problems. And I always say, when you are somebody who is mentally ill, right? Or if you have a history of mental health issues, towing the line between spirituality and religion can be so risky, very risky, even dangerous, because religion, spirituality, these are more so spirituality. It's supposed to be a segue that connects a person to, your higher power, or puts you on a path to kind of get in tune with higher versions of yourself and, foster that kind of intimate relationship with whatever you feel like is your higher power, or maybe your own higher self, or gaining better understanding and perspectives out of life, right? That could be associated with Jupiter's energy. That could also be associated with Piscean energy, because Pisces as a sign is co-ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. But it's that Neptune factor that can make people, because, Pisces also deals with illness. It's that Neptune factor that can make a person who's already mentally ill very vulnerable, because you have a lot of people who are very deceptive in these fields. You have a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about. And these are people who are very easily influenced. And so when you add that Pisces energy and square it to Gemini, especially when we talk about Venus in Gemini, conjoin the Chiron in Gemini, the square that it makes to Blac Chyna's Pisces moon and that North Node could absolutely manifest in an individual who is brainwashed, specifically by others. Venus could deal with our friends, the people around us. Once again, because Venus does rule Taurus, it could even be indicative of the type of advice we get from people. And Venus Gemini individuals need to feel like they're able to learn something from the people around them. These are people who are always on a different scale, because Venus is the opposite sign of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius likes to look for answers, but higher minded answers, and search for meaning. Gemini, on the other hand, likes to just find shit out, learn stuff. And the issue with Gemini energy, especially if it's afflicted, these are people who could take things too literal. These are people who may not even really take advice that they get from people, or if they do, they just have sometimes they can apply it in the wrong way, or people who just are missing the point. So Blac Chyna's Venus in conjunction to Chiron and Gemini like that is just a recipe for disaster, especially with it squaring her moon and her north node. That could even deal with where Tokyo Tony may be like that too, where she can have some of those qualities. And it could be rooted, like I said, in mental illness. And it just really intuitively reminds me of people who are really broken. And a lot of times people with mental health issues and just issues in life turn towards religion and spirituality, because in their mind it's going to help them answer a lot of the questions that they have and make meaning of a lot of the hardships that they've gone through. Pisces on a higher octave, especially when we talk about the moon in Pisces, can be a very extraordinary life. It can be magical, but on its lowest end, in its lowest form, especially if it is afflicted in the way that it's aspected, can deal with a person who goes through a lot of pain and suffering. That's like victimhood. Somebody who is, like I said, victimized or abandoned or neglected, or, there could be a lot of sorrow and loss that comes with the moon in Pisces. And it's so easy to kind of want to rely on other things to help you kind of escape from that. That's why Pisces deals with escapism. And that's also why people who have prominent Piscean energy, specifically Pisces moons, people with Pisces on the north node, just for, a few examples, depending on other factors, can also develop issues with substances. These are your alcoholics. These are your drug addicts. These are people, because it all ties back into wanting to cope. And on a karmic level, Blac Chyna does have a lot of karmic debt surrounding that, especially with her also being a Virgo South Node. Virgo South Nodes are naturally very neurotic individuals. And it does not help that she has Chiron in Gemini, which is also Mercury ruled, as is Virgo, squaring her moon, because that could even be, a byproduct of, once again, a lot of the trauma that she's undergone over the years, where she's just a neurotic, anxious, high-strung mess. These people have a hard time coping with their thoughts and their feelings and adjusting to reality. And so as a result, they turn towards things that take them away and make them feel better. And it's very much like self-medication vibes or escapism vibes. And people turn to drugs and alcohol, but they also turn to religion for this. I'm going to be real. Religion and spirituality. And when we talk about Taurus, and shout out to my mentor, Rabina, she's always talking about how Taurus is one of those signs that could be a cult leader. It's cult leader energy, because Taurus is very much in that lane of the advisor. It's all about what I say, trying to create a normative. Taurus deals with conservatism. It's very much like a status quo kind of sign, and it likes things to be, like, this is what I say it is type of energy. So with Blac Chyna having her Taurus Sun conjoined to Jupiter like that, she could gravitate towards religions that probably would advise her to be a lot more like conservative in how she acts. And, you need to come across as this. And the thing with Taurus is too, the real true tea is, because Taurus is Venus ruled, there still needs to be a certain level of like likability or agreeability there. Very similar to Libra, but on a lesser scale. So these are people, when we talk about Tauruses, especially in the sun, because the sun is like, your popularity, I should say, what you're known for. These are people who still have a strong need to be in good standing. And usually it's because their livelihood depends on it, because Taurus also deals with money, right? Making money, how our ability to make money for ourselves, our livelihood. So I feel like more than one thing could be true at once. I think this is a combination of Blac Chyna being lost, searching for answers, and may have some really not so great people around her in terms of religious leaders and so on and so forth. But also, I feel like she does see a path for her to kind of rebrand, and this being able to kind of save her, for her to save face in terms of like her agreeability when it comes to like the public and whatnot. And for what it's worth, she does have her sun in Taurus, forming a sextile to her Pisces moon, or excuse me, her Pisces north node, that is. Her sun is sextiling this Pisces north node. And that could do it where people show her a lot of sympathy. Like she could earn and gain a lot of, sympathy. And I could see how this would work for her. So if I were her astrologer, I would say, like, keep doing what you're doing, shorty. You know what I'm saying? Keep being nice and sweet and talking about how changed you are. And I feel like there is a path forward. Now, that could also deal with her being really talented when it comes to music, which I think she does make music. And don't sleep on Blac Chyna's music, because I know we're skeptical of like the IG girlies and video vixens who want to do their segue into the like I'm an actual musician kind of thing. But she's actually better than what I anticipated her on being. The sextile between her Taurus sun and her North Node could also deal with her having that OnlyFans account where she made a lot of money. Because a lot of times these are people who can profit off of, once again, that theme of fantasy, really. So I've seen like porn stars with this aspect. I've seen actors and actresses. Maybe if she wants to clean herself up and be 100% legitimate, try her hand in like actually acting. So, I mean, there are some good things that can come from it. This could make her like a fashion girly where she's really into fashion. But that Pisces energy contributed to her feeling like, in addition to that Virgo South Node, contributed to a lot of her image issues, okay? Especially when we talk about Virgo on the South Node. They can be very neurotic, always picking themselves apart. A lot of Pisceans, Pisces moons, Pisces North Nodes do have a desire to feel perfect. And once again, because she has her Taurus sun sextile in this North Node, that could be because a lot of her income has relied on her being this kind of fantasy that she's selling, especially for men. The sun deals with men. Her sun conjoined to Jupiter in Taurus could deal with where she does deal with men who are, very wealthy, where she kind of puts her all into these relationships with men and has children, because the sun deals with children, with men who have a lot of money too. But the gag is she also has Jupiter in opposition to her Pluto. Pluto's opposing this Jupiter. Her Pluto is at the 10th degree of Scorpio. And that could deal with where, with this kind of access that she has, there's always going to be strings attached, where she's always under somebody else's thumb, somebody else's control. And because Jupiter also deals with religion, once again, this opposition to her Pluto in Scorpio could deal with where there's something very corrupt about this ideology that she's buying into. Something very corrupt. That also could deal with her like going through bankruptcy or having money problems too. There's a lot I could really say about Blac Chyna's chart, but I'm just going to leave this here. Let me know if y'all want like a part 2 of this deep dive, because it's like, if I really, it's a lot of tea to get into. But yeah, so I said all that to just give my personal astrological synopsis on her newfound change and so on and so forth. Y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think about this. Do y'all want a part 2 or what's up? And as always, make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. Bye.